Welcome to my algebra class. We're on chapter 11, section 3. We're going to be working with rational square roots. If I take the square root of some number and find out that it equals a, what I'm actually finding out is what number times itself equals the number under the radical. So example, the square root of 100, what number times itself equals 100? It would be 10. This symbol is called the radicand. The perfect squares you should know up to 144, so 1 is 1 squared, 4 is 2 squared, 9 is 3 squared, and so on, because we'll be using these. These are the perfect squares. There are two types of square roots. Every positive real number has two square roots. It's positive square root and the negative square root, where we put the negative in front here. 0, it has only one square root. The square root of 0 is 0. Since 0 is neither positive nor negative. For example, the positive negative square root of 49 is positive negative 7. And we can shorten that and just put a plus minus like that. We're going to be using the product property of square roots. This says that if I have the square root of a number times a number, I can actually split it up in the square root of the one factor times the square root of the other. So I could find the square root of 225, or I could break it up into two perfect squares that I can find the square roots of, like the square root of 9, which is 3. 3 times 3 makes 9. And the square root of 25, which is 5. And then get 15. 3 times 5 is 15. On your calculator, you're going to be using the square root key. I could have also taken the square root of 225 and gotten the 15. Be sure you understand how to find the square root on the calculator that you have. The quotient property of square roots we're also going to use, which says the square root of a fraction, a over b, is the same as the square root of the numerator over the square root of the denominator. So this square root of 49 over 144 is the same as the square root of 49 over the square root of 144. Square root of 49 is 7. 7 times 7 makes 49, and the square root of 144 is 12. So that's how I would do that problem. That completes the explanation. You're ready to start working on the evens, so you need your book open to 519. We're doing 1 through 44 even. And have your calculator handy for the square roots that were not in the first 12. So it says the directions: find the indicated square root. Copy the problem down. Number 2 is the square root, and I'll move this over so we can have our calculator if we need it. Problem number 2, the square root of 64. 64 is a perfect square, 8 times 8. You should know that, memorize those. You can check it out on your calculator, make sure you can find it. You put 64 down and hit the square root key, you get 8. Number 4 is the square root of 121. That's 11. And check it again, 121, square root is 11. And that was in your list of perfect squares. Number 6 says the negative square root of 196. So it's going to be negative. Take 196 and do the square root of that. So it's 14 times 14. So our answer is negative 14. Problem number 8 is the square root of 576. 576. Square root sign, 24 times 24 makes 576. Problem number 10 is the positive and negative square root of 1,225. These are all rational square roots, so they are perfect squares. 1,225 square root is 35. So we have the positive and negative square root of that, which would be positive negative 35. Be sure you have both signs down. Number 12 is the negative square root of 225 over 49. So we do the numerator. It's going to be negative 225. Square root is 15. And we should all know the square root of 49 is 7. So it's negative 15 sevenths. Problem number 14 is the positive negative square root of 1 over 256. Use two lines for fractions. So we want both the positive and negative. The square root of 1 is 1. And 256, the square root is 16. So it's positive negative 1/16. Number 16 is the square root of 529 over 576. Do the numerator first. 529, the square root of that is 23. And 576, the square root of that is 24. So it's 23 24ths, and that's in simplest form. Number 18 is the negative square root of 324 over 729. So our answer is negative, and 324, the square root of that is 18. And 729, the denominator, the square root of that is 27. Looking at this, we can see 18/27 is not in simplest form. Greatest common factor is 9, goes into 18/2 and into 27/3. So our answer is negative 2/3. Problem number 20 is the square root of 1,156 over 289. So take 1,156, find its square root, we get 34. And 289, the square root is 17. And 34 divided by 17 is 2. So our answer is 2. The next set of problems, we're going to break the numerator and denominator into a perfect square times another number. So number 22, we have negative square root of 12 over 75. So I'm trying to think of a perfect square in 12 and 1 in 25 where I get a common factor I can cancel out. So I know 12 is the perfect squares. Remember, you need to keep the list handy, or 1, 4, well, 4 would work. 4 times 3. And the perfect square in 75 is 25 times 3. So I could cancel the 3's out, and the square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 25 is 5. So what you have to do is have your perfect squares handy, find the ones that are in the largest one you can find in these numbers, and cancel out what you can. 24, and by the way, that was negative, so we need the negative sign there. 24, we have the square root of 20 45ths. The factors of 20, the biggest perfect square I can find in 20 is 4. And then I have a 5 left. 4 times 5 makes 20. And 45, perfect squares are 1, 4, 9, 9 times 5. So I can cancel the 5's. The square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 9 is 3. So it's 2/3. 26, I have the positive negative square root of 92 over 207. So we want to see what perfect squares are. 92. 9 does not go in there. 16. You can check it out. 92 divided by 16 doesn't work. 92 divided by, after 16 comes 25, and then 36. 36 is not going to work. So what do we have? Well, let's see if we can just take it apart a little bit. We do know it's we do know it's 2 times 46, and this is 2. Well, that's not 2 times anything. What if we tried 9? 27. Let's see. 49. Nope. Since I seem to be having a little problem finding a common factor, I think what I'm going to do is just do a factor tree and see if I can find it. So 92, if I break it down, is 2 times 46. Bring down the 2. This comes out 2 times 23. And it looks like I better check 23. So let's see if 207 is divisible by 23. Did I do that right? 207 divided by 23. Yeah, it is. So 207 is 23 times 9. So this is going to equal plus or minus the square root of 23. 92 is 23 times 4. And 207 is 23 times 9. So I can cancel out the 23's and I get plus or minus. The square root of 4 is 2 and the square root of 9 is 3. So it's going to take a little investigating on your part to make sure you get this. And show all your work. If you have to use factor trees, show it. So number 28, let's see if that's a little easier. 28, we have the square root of 5 over 180. So that's going to be 5 times 1 over 180 divided by 5. So it looks like we want to get rid of the 5 is 36. So that's 5 times 36. So I can cancel out the 5's. The square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 36 is 6. So my answer is 1/6. 30, we have plus or minus the square root of 180 over 845. Well, let's see what we have here. 180 is 9 times 20, which is 9 times 4 times 5. I can see 2 perfect squares there. 845 is 5 times, let's see, 845 divided by 5 is 169. And 169 is a perfect square, and 4 times 9, 36 is a perfect square. So this is 5 times 36 over 5 times 169. So I can cancel out the 5's. The square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of 169 is 13. So my answer is 6 plus or minus. Let me erase that and make it better. Plus or minus 6/13. And the last one of this type, 32, we have minus the square root of 1,682 over 20,000. Okay, 1682. We can check and see if it's a perfect square. It is not. Let's see what we can do here. 1,682 divisible by 2, so that's 841. Is 841 a perfect square? It is. And 20,000, let's see if we can just take out the 2. So that's 2 times 10,000. And is 10,000 a perfect square? It is. So we have 2, we can break it up into 2 minus the square root of 2 times 841 over 2 times 10,000. Cross those out and we get minus the square root of 841, which was again 29. And the square root of 10,000 is 100. So it's negative 29 hundredths. And the last set of problems, find the indicated square root. Express as in decimal. You may wish to use a calculator to check these answers. I'm going to show you a little trick to do these without a calculator, but we'll go ahead and start with the calculator. So 34, you have the square root of 0.09. If I use my calculator, 0.09, and do the square root, I get 3. Well, a way to do it without the calculator, you know the square root of 9 is 3. To get 0.09, you're looking for some number times itself that equals 0.09. Since when you multiply, you count the number of decimals used, 0.3 times 0.3 would give you 0.09. So that's our answer. So we'll try to see if we can do these without the calculator. 36, we have the negative square root of 0.64. So we know our answer is negative. I know the square root of 64 is 8. I have 2 places after the decimal point, so I just need 1 place after the decimal point in my answer. Because when I multiply it, 0.8 times 0.8 would give me 0.64. And I can check it. 0.64 square root is 0.8. Number 38, we have the square root of 2.25. I know 225 is a perfect square. It is 15. So where would I put the decimal point? So I get 2.25 when I take 15 times 15. It would be between the 1 and the 5. That would give me 2 places after the decimal point. And I can check that. Take 2.25 and find the square root, and it's 1.5. Problem number 40 is the square root of 0.0196. 196 is a perfect square. I get a 14. So where would I put the decimal point so I have 4 places after the decimal point when I take this times itself? Well, I need 2 times 2. That'll give me 4 places, so it should be 0.14. And check it, 0.0196 square root is 0.14. 44. Whoops, excuse me, 42. The square root of 0.0289. 289 is a perfect square. The square root of that is 17. So where would I put the decimal point so I get 4 places after the decimal point when I times is 0.17. Check it. 0.0289, the square root is 0.17. And the last problem, number 44. The square root of 0.4049. I know the square root of 49 is 7. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places after it, so I'll need 0.007. So we can check that. 0.000049 square root is 0.007. And that concludes the evens. Be sure you check the back of the book for the answers to the odds.